Hello friends, near and far, dear to my heart, welcome to this Taurus new moon collective reading. All right, so we're gonna go there today. I let the messages come through when they come through. So this is gonna be a lot of numerology, so grab your calculator because this new moon got me and it got us, whoever's tuning in. Thank you for tuning in to the magical math of astrology, sacred geometry, numerology. Okay, so get your thinking caps on because this one was very interesting to me. It was a rabbit hole. So we've arrived. Okay, the new moon in Taurus. I've been waiting for this day, this Venusian energy. We had that Libra full moon, very Venusian month, May. A lot of energy is shifting for us. Venus direct, Mercury direct. We have a little bit of break from all that retrograde. So let's talk about the numerology of the times, okay? And I stopped believing in coincidences a long time ago, especially when it comes to astrology, spirituality. You know, there's this like decoding, you know, and I was channeling this guidance and just writing notes about astrology. It was a lot of like piecing together the jigsaw. So April 27th, new moon in Taurus at 17 degrees. Okay, and then on May 17th, we have Uranus in Taurus conjunct Taurus at 27 degrees. Okay, and then also Uranus is going to go into Gemini on July 7th. So are you catching all these sevens? Okay, you should be. So let's talk about 17, my favorite number. It always has been. Okay, what's your favorite number? And as I did some research, 17 in ancient times was the star of the Magi, a divine number of timing, cosmic navigation. It represents the guiding light that led the wise man, the hermit year, to the Christ child. It shows up in the Tarot as the star 17, which also follows, right, the Tower, a card of hope after collapse, of clarity after chaos, eclipse season, retrogrades, right? We're coming out of that. So to me, that's the perfect metaphor of Uranus and Taurus conjunct this new moon in Taurus. So they're all connecting. Faith after free fall. And what better archetype of Taurus to hold that faith than the Hierophant, card 5 in Tarot. Taurus energy itself, the spiritual teacher, the divine bridge between heaven and earth. After the Tower's collapse, the Hierophant reminds us that not all structure is restriction. Some structure is sacred, Saturn. But what is faith really? Okay, got me thinking. That depends on who you ask. Some may have celebrated Easter, right? Others honor Astara and the rebirth of spring. For some, faith is found in a temple. And for others, in the act of simply waking up and choosing to live. You get to choose, right? Free will. What does faith mean to you? That is what this new moon is asking us, right, at this time. And in this light, 17 becomes a portal, okay? A return to truth, clarity, and alignment after upheaval. New moon, 17 degrees. It's not just a number. It's like a celestial GPS for the soul. And it goes deeper, okay? Bear with me. And speaking of sacred 17s, let's time travel back to ancient Egypt. One of my favorite cultures to dig into. April 17th, which we just had, is deeply tied to the resurrection of Osiris, the god of the underworld, fertility, and rebirth. It marked a spiritual portal in their calendar tied to eternal life, cycles of regeneration, and divine order. Are we catching the symbology here? The Tower star. Many traditions held this date as a sacred observance, much like Easter, a symbolic meaning of death and renewal, right? Tower star. After the tower comes the star, 17. And 17 again marks this resurrection theme. The star following the fall, light after shadow, and the divine knowing that we don't really lose anything. We transmute it. The scorpionic energy, Taurus is opposite, okay? And Don't miss this little numerological, I can't even talk, numerological love note, okay? 1 + 7 is 8, right? The karmic return of transformation, Scorpio's domain. Again, Taurus is opposite. We're walking the axis of form and formlessness. Taurus builds, Scorpio alchemizes, transmutes. Taurus grounds, Scorpio awakens. And it doesn't end there, okay? Uranus, right? We talked about May 17th, conjunct Taurus Sun, has been in Taurus for 7 years. It's a 7-year cycle. And it will be wrapping up July 7th and entering into Gemini, okay? So lots of 7s happening right now, okay? And it's face to face, right? At this portal of the new moon. And then come May 17th, this conjunction with Uranus energy. And then come July, we'll see what happens there. Very interesting kind of cosmic ties here. And it's a cosmic pivot point, if you'd like to say, like the past can't quite follow us, right? Eclipse season, March. And the future is starting to hum a little louder, okay? We get to ground ourselves with this new moon. So let's talk about also the Tower card, right? Number 16, 1 + 6, 7, the star, 17, right? So much of this numerology that's encoded in this new moon. And Uranus energy, Uranus in Taurus may rule rebellion, but it doesn't destroy for destruction's sake, right? Mars breaks things to conquer. Uranus breaks things to liberate. Okay, Uranus represents the star Aquarius, Pluto and Aquarius. Lots of connections here. But it's only if we're willing to release what no longer supports our becoming, right? That's where we've been at. This isn't just a new moon. It's the whispers after the thunder, the breath between collapse and rebirth on a micro and macro level. Sacred synchrony guiding us forward through the smoke into the soil of Taurus, earth energy fixed back into self. And it asks you, what are you ready to rebuild? Not because you have to, but because you're finally free to. And one more thing I have to add here in these notes of mine. So April 27th is the new moon. It's a 22 day when you break it down in numerology, the master builder, 22. A bridge between vision and form. Spirit grounded in structure, Taurus. Dream it, then root it. The kind of magic that doesn't rush, but it lasts. And to wrap this up, speaking of the sacred structure of this new moon, we're gonna circle May 12th, the Scorpio full moon. Make sure that you catch me here, subscribe to the channel. It's at 22 degrees and 12 minutes Scorpio, 22 again, the master architect building beyond time, Tower star, rebuilt, okay? And a little more math for you, 2 + 2 + 1 + 2 = 7. So all of these degrees, all of these dates are lining up, okay? Kind of spooky, right? Cue the spooky music. I've been diving down this rabbit hole of mine. I was very surprised to see what I found, to be honest. I was not prepared for all this math. It's not just aligned, it's encoded, this new moon, right? So make sure to subscribe to my channel for the next collective reading for that Scorpio full moon, master number 22. This new moon, we're really settling into that transformative energy of the number 17, star quality, Uranus, exposing us, right? The subtlety of this growth of spring. Taurus, what seeds are you planting with this new moon, right? And of course, all these collective readings, whether they are based on eclipses or the lunar cycles, they're all connected. So check back to my channel for the last full moon in Libra reading that I did, which again, Libra also rules 7th house. So there's no coincidence, like I said. And if you want to trace back to those readings, if you haven't watched them yet, the links are all below. They're all truly timeless, right? This Taurus new moon, with all of its slow bloom, sacred math, and cosmic connections, is not a stall. It's a start. So plant your seeds, tend to your soil, watch the signs, watch the numbers. What are those numbers for you, right? This is a good time to look into your numerology as well. Also, like I said, what's your favorite number and why? Have you ever thought about why a number just sticks with you? 17 has always been that number for me since I was very little. So this new moon is very important to me. I also have a natal Taurus moon. So for me, it feels very personal, and I hope that this collective reading inspires you. We're going to dive into the reading, and we're also going to talk about that Sabian symbol for 17 degrees Taurus for this new moon. Okay, so let's dive in here. Let's get to it. Why, hello there, friends. Welcome to this collective reading. Is your brain a bit fried from all that math? Right, sit with it, right? And again, look at your chart. Just know that I offer personalized birth chart analysis. Check out all my services. You can find my website below. I'm actually transitioning to a new service portal for myself. I've been using Etsy, but I'm actually finding another service that's a bit more representative for the type of services I provide. So stay tuned for that. I'll be updating that here shortly, but you can always email me if you want to set up a personal reading. And my website has all my current services right now. Okay, so yeah, check that out, and also check back to those other readings if you're feeling so inclined to see the connections, because again, these are all cycles. None of them are necessarily in the past for us to forget about them, right? We can't forget about our past, but we can't bring the past necessarily all of it forward. There are things that we need to transmute, especially come this full moon in Scorpio. So right now we're kind of in between those realms of transformation, Tower, Star. And also, again, this kind of a conjunction that I was speaking upon earlier, it falls 1 to 2 degrees before or after. So there's this kind of like looking back, moving forward, right? We just got out of Mercury and Venus retrograde. Taurus is ruled by Venus. So there is still this recalibration that we felt during that Libra full moon, right? Walking that line of how many steps forward are you taking? Are you rushing, right? Taurus is going to say to slow down a bit, okay? Because there are things that are still needing to transform for all of you, right? We are forever students, and this kind of rebirth death cycle is forever, right? It doesn't really necessarily end, okay? So there's many cycles, many connections as we're noticing. All right, so I'm going to read a couple things today because I felt inspired. I'm going to read from both of these books, the Sabian symbol, and also talk about Uranus energy. Uranus conjunct the sun, Uranus conjunct the moon. What does that mean for you? And again, in your birth chart, each of your planets have their own set of degrees, right? Where you can look into your own Sabian symbols. You can also look into numerology. There's a lot of number sequences that are very potent and strong for all of you. And your birth chart holds so much personalized information, your own personal blueprint, right? Your own roadmap. So this collective reading is going to help us understand on a collective level what we're all having to ground ourselves into and prepare ourselves for new cycles, spring. Okay, so let's do it. I bookmark like I always do. I just pull cards, and the Sabian symbol 17. Let's see what we got. Delight. Look at that spring energy. Delight. So in this kind of Tower star energy that's very present, you know, the Hierophant is there to support that change. Again, Where do you place your faith in? What do you value, right? Taurus represents that. Venus. We've been talking about this, especially in that Libra full moon reading. And if you didn't catch it, go watch it. The links are all below. And while you're down there, hit that like button if you like my style, right? And subscribe to the channel to stay up to date for the next full moon in Scorpio reading. So delighting in this cycle, our values, really holding strong to them. Venus retrograde really has been asking us to really settle into maybe a new set of values, because our values can shift and change, right? Death energy, Tower, especially if our values are not built on a steady foundation. That's what the Tower card represents. It is kind of built on a faulty foundation to begin with. So a lot of people might be very scared of the Tower, but it's inevitable and it's required in order to birth into a new cycle, right? It's kind of like I'm reminded of, like, when if you say you have a house, right, and you're trying to go in and remodel it, and you're trying to do it half-ass. You're like, well, I don't really have a lot of money, so I'm just gonna patch up this and kind of do it half-ass, right? And again, later down the line, you end up running into more issues. So Taurus is saying to, like, you know what, slow down a bit. You don't have to rush this process. You don't have to just do a quick Band-Aid or patch job. It might help for some of you, but just know the long-term cause and effect of that, right? So where are you investing in your life right now? What seeds of intention with a new moon? It's all about new ideas, new perspectives, and delighting in that. Even in all the chaos of it all, right? Tower, Scorpio energy. So let's read about it here. 17 degrees Taurus, a symbolical battle between swords and torches. Refusing to depend on the past, the seeker turns warrior, fighting anew the eternal great war. When Gautama have sought in vain for the answers to his questions among the teachers of tradition, sat under the Bodhi tree, he had to fight his own battle in his own way. Even through it is an internal fight. The spiritual light within the greater soul must struggle against the ego will that only knows how to use the powers of this material and intellectual world. There's no possibility of escape. It is the energy that arises out of the present moment, the inescapable now, that the daring individual has to use in the struggle. So again, this is connecting to, we have to look at our past lives. North Node in Pisces season. I've been talking about this if you've been with me, right? Neptune is now in Aries. Saturn's still in Pisces. It's going to be wrapping up here May 24th. So we'll also see what that comes with, right? I'll probably do a reading on that as well. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel. The second stage symbol suggests that salvation is attained through the emergent individual's readiness to face all issues as if there were only two opposed sides. So teaches the Bhagavad Gita. I'm probably saying that wrong. This is the Dharma of the stage of human evolution, a stage of polarization of values. Very much so. Yeah. So it says, refusing to depend on the past, the seeker turns warrior, fighting anew the eternal great war. And we're seeing these great wars amongst the world, right? This is a collective reading. So wherever you are in the world, we're experiencing that on a macro level, right? The collective of this great war, this polarization. I've been talking about this, and we're trying to find ourselves amongst it and understand it in this human experience. And it can feel like a battle, right? And again, knowing what we value and why. That's what Venus retrograde has been teaching us. And it can be scary, right? The changes that are coming up within us and around us, externally, internally. And there can be a lot of opposition even with ourselves. Trying to reframe that inner critic to our inner coach, South Node in Virgo right now. So I did want to pull from the Anubis Oracle in honor of the symbology of 17. April 17th is kind of like Egyptian culture's Easter, right? And for some of you, you might know this already, that a lot of these holidays are rooted in very indigenous, ancient practices, right? So it's good to be informed and stay educated and knowledgeable of this energy and how much, these traditions, these religions, right? Where do you place your faith? Hierophant, Taurus are all rooted in the same belief system. Over time, it's kind of like a game of telephone where depending on who is leading that group, right? Culture, religion, it can get a bit murky, or it can get more refined. And all of you can place your faith where you want to. There's no right or wrong answer. But again, it's good to kind of question the past. Again, it's good to look back, but we have to also progress forward at this time. So I wanted to just briefly read from Astrology, Karma, and Transformation before we pull some cards on Uranus. There's a quote here by Shakespeare. Don't mind my voice. Allergy season is here, and my voice has been a bit rocked. It says, "Be cheerful, sir. Our revels are now ended. These are actors. As I foretold you, we're all spirits and are melted into air, into thin air. And like the baseless fabric of this vision, the clouded capped towers, the gorgeous palaces, the solemn temples, the great globe itself, yes, all which it inherit shall dissolve. And like this insubstantial pageant faded, leave not a rack behind. We are such stuff as dreams are made on, and our little life is rounded with sleep." So there's so much connection. Again, Mars, like I said earlier, it can be very destructive. We're starting to feel that subtlety after Aries season, Neptune in Aries, Saturn going into Aries. It can be a bit rebellious. It can lean on aggression. So we have to catch ourselves in those moments as we're shifting out of Pisces into Aries. Uranus it can feel like lightning, right? Uranus, Aquarius represents lightning for me. And this is like epiphanies. This is a bit more of the mental. Aquarius is air. And it's interesting how that Sabian symbol spoke of that. The sword or the wand. Aries represents the wand, fire. Aquarius, Pluto in Aquarius represents the sword of truth. So there are a lot of great truths that are being revealed to us at this time. And we got Sekhmet. Oh my God. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not making this stuff up. I literally, before I press record, I just pull cards and I bookmark them. And what number is that? 7. Sekhmet. Which, if any of you know about Sekhmet, she is very destructive. I would say that she would be connected with the Tower energy, Scorpionic energy. Although she is a goddess, she does come through with transformation. Okay, Scorpionic energy. So there's a lot of symbology here of this fierce compassion. She's a healer, but she does bring lessons, this kind of Plutonic energy tower, right? That are saying, hey, Sekhmet's saying, this is not built on a strong foundation. And Taurus new moon is saying it's time to stabilize, right? Even if it's just one slow step forward, gradual. Taurus represents the mountain, right? So yeah, Sekhmet is here. You can also look into her. Beautiful energy. Worshipped by many, much like goddess Isis. And then we have, I wanted to read on the conjunction energy. Like I said, it's 1 to 2 degrees before or after. So the sun in Taurus, and Uranus in Taurus will be at the exact same degree, and I believe it's at 27 degrees, which is very interesting. Another connection with 7. Okay, we got Osiris. We talked about that, right? April 17th was the celebration of Osiris again. Death, rebirth, Taurus, Scorpio. We're entering into this polarity of Taurus and Scorpio, both fixed, water and earth. Okay? It's regarded, this conjunction, as intense merging and interaction of two life energies, two planets. But again, we do have this moon in Taurus, right? So it is kind of sitting there with the sun and Uranus all in Taurus. This conjunction is the most powerful aspect in astrology, and the most important and powerful of all conjunction are those involving the more personal planets. And although, you know, Uranus is not one of the personal, it's more the outer. We're connecting the outer with the inner, right? Self, Aries, I am, getting really clear about that, becoming an individual, understanding our values and having healthy boundaries around that. No longer playing the victim or the martyr in our life or our circumstances. Pisces, North Node. The sun and the moon are internal planets. So there can be this contradiction of self versus the collective. How do I fit in, right? Where do I belong? Where is my community? We talked about that in the Libra full moon. Osiris, regeneration, star. So after the tower comes the star, 17 degrees, Taurus new moon. This is a very regenerative energy. It's earth, it's grounded. It's time to plant those seeds with intention and nourish those seeds, right? There's beauty in death as well here. Also, I pulled here, let's see what I pulled. I wanted to talk about Sun-Uranus aspects, okay? We have Sobek and Horus, reconciliation of opposites. I can't make this up. Yeah, Taurus, Scorpio, opposites. So kind of this opposition, and then also this conjunction of energies. It's alchemy, right? It's learning how to alchemize all of these subtle cues and these symphonies that are happening in the sky. Forgiveness and understanding. Yeah, this is a lot about personal forgiveness, and also, again, it takes a lot of personal awareness and accountability and emotional intelligence to forgive, right? And that's, again, it can be a very slow process for some of you to understand the oppositions in the world, the polarity, opposition, all the same, right? Just a different word. So this can be excitable, right? Sun, Uranus aspects, May 17th, unpredictable and a bit self-centered. Okay, this individual is often unusually creative in a variety of activities, right? It can be a bit erratic, a lot of interest, a lot of things coming to mind, a powerful streak of independence. And these people often act on the assumption that they have the right to do whatever they want. So that's that kind of know-it-all attitude that I was saying that we have to be mindful of on a collective level, you know, Neptune and Aries and Saturn and Aries joining. So I feel like Scorpio and Taurus, these oppositions here, so Sobek and Horus, this is a time to really kind of reconcile our differences and to take accountability for ourselves, right? Aries represents self, ego, understanding when we're operating from our ego in survival mode, right? All right, so let's get into it, right? Let's get into it. Are you ready to pull some cards? Because I know I am. Let's like this. Whoa, geez, everything's falling here. I have too much stuff on my table, apparently. Sadly, I have my Isis here, and she cracks. So there's some symbology there. She's leaning really far into this table. I'm gonna actually rest her down. So there's something symbolic about that. Okay, so the cracks, sadly, my statue broke and I'm not letting it go. So I'm getting reminded of in Chinese traditions, when pottery or ceramics crack, they fill it with gold. kind of like that tower energy. You know, when the tower crumbles, they have to rebuild it. And they don't look at the imperfections as something that is to be thrown away or cast away. Kind of like as we look at the past, we see something that might be imperfect within ourselves or around us in the world. But to understand the beauty in that, right? And the beauty in death, right? You know, my statue, although it cracked, the beauty's still there, even in the imperfections. So there is some symbology there. And she's still standing, even if she's leaning in one direction and falling. Okay, let's ring the bell. Let's center ourselves before I pull some cards. Ancestors, ascended masters, gods and goddesses operating from the light and love of creator source energy, I call you into this collective reading. All right, let's do this. What are we going to pull from? Light seers. Okay, light seers, let's do this. What is this new moon in Taurus collective reading bringing to us? Brought to you by what? You know, we've dived deep already in the numerology degrees. Oh, man, death, tower. I feel like Pluto in Aquarius is really like sitting on the sidelines here in between this new moon in Taurus and Scorpio full moon. There's going to be a lot of things that we're purging and releasing, and we have been since that March 29th eclipse in Aries. Pluto's on the sidelines over there in Aquarius with that Uranus. Again, Aquarius represents Uranus. It'll be interesting to see what happens in July. And what's funny now that I'm remembering, it's not really funny. It's, again, there's never any coincidence. If you watch that Libra full moon, at the end of the reading, the beginning I pulled the sun, and I was like, there's some significance with July. And that significance is Uranus going into Gemini July 7th. And there's going to be a lot of changes and shifts in July. All of you have your own personal transits, and just know that I do offer forecast readings. So if you want to see what the rest of 2025 has in store for you, you can still get that reading from here till December. Okay, so there's some significance with July, so let's sit back and wait for that time to come, right? It's not that far away. Honestly, time is whizzing by, it seems. Yeah, but I said July, and when I pulled on that sun card, I got the new and full moon in Cancer, right? July, also 7, hello universe. And there's something significant about the Cancer moon that month and how it coincides with Uranus entering into Gemini. Interesting. Well, we'll see. We will definitely be doing a reading then. All right, let's see. New moon in Taurus for my collective. What do they need to know at this time to help them root into this new moon, stabilize themselves after their own personal mini towers, right? We have many in our life. 7 of Cups, Scorpio energy. Let's see, new moon in Taurus. How can we ground this information, ancestors? How can we ground all this? How can we ground it down? What is the deeper meaning here? Let's pull some more tarot here to get a deeper perspective. Okay, so for some of you, it's hard, they're saying, to ground down when you're not stabilized. And that's what this Taurus season, Sun in Taurus, Uranus in Taurus, Moon in Taurus is saying. It's time to stabilize. Queen of Pentacles in reverse with the 5 of Cups. Taurus, Scorpio, yet again. Wow, so many synchronicities here. So yeah, whether you're male or female doesn't matter. Queen or king, right? There's no sex or gender really in tarot. You can pull on king energy, masculine, active principle versus feminine, which is more active being. We all have those energies within us, and we all pull on them at different times. So there is this very watery energy processing our emotions, and our emotions can seem to get the best of us with the 7 of Cups and 5 of Cups. So many emotions, so many things that we're feeling like we might need to let go of in order to stabilize. Queen of Pentacles. And again, Queen energy is being very receptive, intuitive. The Star, healing. We have to heal some of this grief on a collective level as well. I'm also getting reminded here with the Nine of Swords, Gemini energy, July 7th, Uranus going into Gemini, of we can't let our mind, our thoughts get the best of us, and our feelings as well. They all have a place at the table. They all show us where our passions lie. They all show us where there's tension, right? Where the tension lies is truly where the growth is. That's where the transformation is. But at times when we are processing not only our own grief, we're processing the collective grief, it can become very overwhelming, Seven of Cups, where we don't know which way to go. And they're saying to take one step forward, right, at a time. You got to stabilize, you got to root, you got to create roots of stability. I'm also getting reminded on Instagram, which you can follow me there, you can find my link below. I post different cool things. There was this man, I forget his name, but he talked about the meaning of root and radicalism. You know, Pluto and Aquarius is a very radical time. Radicalists in how they have been looked down upon in many ways. Many great leaders, inventors of the past, that, you know, people of power that maybe were operating out of ego, right, to suppress people, right, bullying people, trying to keep people under their thumb, that devilish energy, right, control, manipulation, is that we have to kind of put the power back in our own hands. Taurus is saying that, again, we have to really know our values in order to stabilize. And maybe some of you are still processing some grief around something that was lost. Okay, let's see. Let's pull from the soul's journey. How can my collective stabilize at this time? There is recovery with the Nine of Swords, but also the Nine of Swords talks about in reverse getting more rest. Right, Taurus represents the five senses. So this is getting in touch with our five senses and also taking care of ourselves. Venus, self-care, self-preservation. And again, it doesn't mean that we can't be empathetic of the needs of others, but we have to have that balance. I'm talking about this for a while. Libra full moon we just had. Especially Aries season, you know, it's very independent Aries energy. About how I feel, right? And how I'm going to choose for myself, which can be very empowering. There's a time and a place for that. And they're saying that, yes, now is the time to kind of balance that out of it. Maybe process some emotions on this new moon with the Five of Cups. What else for this new moon in Taurus collective reading? Worry. Yeah, that's that Nine of Swords. Very much connected to what I just said. It says, I am learning that worry doesn't change an outcome. Yeah, blame as well. You know, that's that Five of Cups, Seven of Cups, is we can worry, we can blame, we can play the victim, we can really get stuck in our emotions. And what's interesting, as I did the Cancer, so watch back to that Cancer reading I did, which was in November. Okay. No, sorry. Cancer was Capricorn season, January. Cancer is Capricorn's opposite, which was another Earth month. So there's a connection here. If you want to watch back to it, if you already watched it, maybe if you watch it over again, there might be a deeper message. We were talking about Mars retrograde in Cancer. We just got out of that, right? Mars has been in Cancer for, it seems like, an eternity, okay? And so there's a lot of this hyper feminine, hyper masculine, and getting caught up in the waves. I've been talking about that. Like, there's lots of great waves coming in until 2027, to be honest with you. And lots of towers happening until then on a collective level, okay? So new moon in Taurus is saying, can't place the blame on everyone else. We can't over worry. We have to trust. That trust fall, the fool's journey, right? We're stepping into that spring, Aries season, the 0 point, the starting point, okay? And the blame card says, I accept responsibility for my well-being. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so let's go further here for you. Let's do the moonology. What do we have for the new moon in Taurus? A time to give rather than take. Virgo, that's that Virgo South node. And we have the North node showing up here on the bottom, so very much connected to the North and South node, again on the collective level. And I do have those readings, again, on my page. If you haven't watched them, there will be a playlist below that has all of those readings, okay? We have to step out of our comfort zone a little, yeah. Because for some of you, or again, remember, when I'm speaking to you, because this is very self-serving, right? It all starts with self. It can also be applied to people around you, okay? The internal, external, right? It's all mirrored, really, truly. So what I'm getting here is we have to kind of step out of our comfort zone of this kind of enabling behavior, or again, trauma bonding to something or someone, okay? Because that's what's felt safe. Taurus, the shadow of Taurus, it represents safety. Second house is not just money. Some people talk about second and eighth. Scorpio is very about money. Yes, the physical tangibleness of earth energy, right? Wealth, abundance, Venus. But also, again, second house is about safety. It's all about safety, whether it is physical or emotional safety. And there's a lot around our emotions here with the 7 of Cups, 5 of Cups, of feeling safe, to even express our emotions and to not blame anyone else for how we're feeling. We have to take accountability for our own emotional reactions, and not to say that someone else or something is wrapped up in that. But there does come a time and a place in relating, right? This Libra full moon has been teaching us that, of like, when we really want something so bad. Taurus season, can be very stubborn, very fixed, right? They set their intentions out and they're like, this is where I'm going. But they're kind of like the bull sees red. They don't see anything out of the peripheral. And when we do that, we don't really understand the lesson, and we are so stubbornly fixed on making someone understand us, or we're sticking to someone that just doesn't get it. They don't hold space for us in that way, that our emotions need to be expressed, right? Say you're trying to express your emotions to someone and how you feel, they have every right to respond how they want to. And I can say this from experience, is like, well, I just want you to understand. Me personally, I have a moon in Taurus and Venus in Taurus, so this energy is very true to me. And I always look at the negative and positive of each sign. And that's the negative of Taurus, is they can be so stubborn and fixed to wanting something to work that they will blame the other person for them choosing to stick it out when it's clearly not meant to be, right? Tower, it's not built on a strong foundation. So it's all about the foundations you're laying here and letting it go so you can rebuild the star. And that does take healing. And again, it starts with self. And yes, there are people around you. Remember that trust fall of the Libra full moon? If you haven't watched it, go watch it. There might be only one person below you that's there to catch you when you fall. Because we all fall at times. Fallen star, And we can't place the blame on everyone else all the time, or the worry. So this is a pattern maybe some of you are breaking. Like, I can't keep blaming everyone else for my own life and my own choices, my own values. Maybe my values, my expectations are set too high or too low. Where are you on that spectrum? You got to step out of your comfort zone here, and it's a time to give rather than take, meaning this can relate to giving back to oneself, and also learning how to give to relationships, whether they're friends, family, coworkers, whatever you're creating in this Venusian energy of Taurus, whatever seeds you're planting. Giving to those connections, those relationships that are authentic, right? That's connecting to that last reading. All right, we're going to wrap up this reading with a archetypal message. Let's see, new moon in Taurus, would we have for the collective at this time? The threshold, ooh. Oh yeah. We are sitting at the threshold of Taurus scorpionic energy. and many other things, right? Uranus conjunct the sun, May 17th. Let's read about that. Let me grab the book here. Let's see what number that is. The threshold. I'm going to freak out if there's another 7 here. Hold on. My book is getting a bit tattered here. It's 153. 9. So it's Sag energy. 9th house, deeper truths. Jupiter. Jupiter is also in Gemini. So let's read about this. The threshold, 153. We cross thresholds continually, right? Just like I said, many towers, many death, rebirth cycles. Consciously and unconsciously, doorways, gates, entryways, grace our path as on a daily basis. When this card arises, it signifies that the precipice you stand upon is not your typical one. However, you've arrived at a threshold of initiation, right? Stepping out of your comfort zone, here to usher you into a new reality. It requires you to leave behind the you that you thought was so well formed, right? Just talked about this stubborn streak of Taurus energy. A new frontier calls, the Fool's Journey. This is not easy work. Threshold initiation means a part of you will be lost in order to make space for what is next, the Tower. A metaphorical death must occur. Some may not recognize you. You may struggle to recognize yourself, right? 5 of Cups, 7 of Cups. Illusion, fear, fantasy, driven by lust. That's another thing with Taurus. Again, the 5 senses, Venus. It can be on a spectrum, right? Extremes. We are humans of extremes naturally. Where do you catch yourself on that spectrum? How are you coping with your emotions? The worry, the fear, the blame. The ground seems to crumble as you free fall into a new reality. This is the liminal realm. One step, dear friend. Just take that one step, like I said. That one necessary step towards the future that calls you. Ease in the liminal. It doesn't have to be impulsive, right? Libra full moon reading. I talked about that teeter-totter. This is not a competition. That came up in the other reading. It says, the shadow of this card can be resisting, refusal to grow, right? Blaming everyone else. We're over worrying, over analyzing, right? Staying in the wrong relationships that your body, your inner child, whatever that is, we have to honor that. It's not to place blame on ourselves and say, I feel horrible for being this way. It's saying, no, why am I this way? Why have I chosen this way of being, thinking? My emotions are gatekeepers, and that's that threshold. With that watery 5 of Cups, 7 of Cups, it's like the emotions are there to teach you about what you're not honoring and where you have to start prioritizing that. And you have to take one step forward. You have to take accountability, right? And this could also be someone else in your life that you're finally seeing. Well, maybe they can't. And that's okay. I still have to move forward without blame or over worrying. We can't control others. Everyone has free will. And it says, go deeper, lie on the floor and listen to Bob Dylan's Standing in the Doorway. I'm going to post that link below if you want to listen to that song. It's not about the music, it's about the lyrics. So if you don't like Bob Dylan, go read the lyrics. There could be something there for you, okay? And it says here, in Hindu mythology, Ganesh is the ultimate gatekeeper. Look to the great elephant god for support. Hecate, Janus, and Mention are also watching over you. Crossing a threshold may not always be voluntary. Tower. It comes in. Sometimes we're thrown across the boundary through circumstances far beyond our control. Either way, we cannot go back. Yeah, there's something about we can't go back. There's something in this message that's saying, we can look back, but if we're going back to something that is toxic to some extent, we're going to get caught in that karmic spiral again. And spirit, ancestors, guides, whatever you call upon are saying now, you can go back, but you're probably going to experience another Tower. That might not be so necessary. So let's stabilize ourselves. Queen of Pentacles in reverse. Let's get grounded, right? Get out in nature. It's a good time to connect with herbs, earthly things, crystals, sage, right? Very earthly. Food, sleep are very important, crucial. Paying attention to the body, our five senses. What is our body telling us? Okay, being receptive and open to the language of the body. Somatic practices, yoga, meditation, to allow more flow as we move beyond this threshold, that trust fall. Where have you been too fixed or stubborn, Taurus? You know? All right, my friends. This was a good one, huh? I know my brain was like calculating all the math, and it's very interesting, and we'll see where this takes us. I'm excited to read for the full moon in Scorpio. So again, subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell to stay up to date for when I post. In May, I'm also going to do an all signs reading, okay? And I will also do a supportive message for May 24th's entry into Neptune and Aries. So stay tuned. If you want a personal reading with me, check out my links below. Take care of yourself. Bye for now.